Welcome to the Falls Homefront, where Wichita Falls leads in North Texas real estate, business, and life. I'm Tim Lockhart, retired Air Force officer, realtor, and your local real estate and business strategist. Every week, I'm shining a spotlight on people, places, and opportunities that make our community thrive. You'll hear real estate tips, market insights, and inspiring conversations with local leaders, entrepreneurs, and fellow military veterans. Whether you're a homeowner, investor, military family, or brand new to the area, you'll get the expert advice, community connections, and local insights you won't find anywhere else. Let's get started. Welcome to the Falls Homefront. I'm Tim Lockhart, and I appreciate you tuning in. We've got a great episode today, full of practical tips and local insights that you don't want to miss. Today, I'm so excited to welcome our guest, Terry McAdams. Terry is a U.S. Air Force veteran, entrepreneur, and owner of MacTech Solutions, Wichita Falls' locally owned Apple Authorized reseller and service provider. After a distinguished career in aviation electronics, he transitioned into business, founding one of Texoma's most trusted technology companies, offering Apple sales, repair, and managed IT services for individuals and businesses across North Texas. Recognized for his commitment to local business and community innovation, Terry also co-hosts the Get It Right Texoma podcast, where he spotlights local voices, politics, and stories that shape the region. Thank you, Terry, for joining us today.
Well, I'm excited to be here and see what we can do. Have some fun. Talk about stuff.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Well, why don't we start out? Can you tell us why you decided to start your own business and what it was like going from active duty military to a business owner?
I did it because I was having fun and helping people out. And so just real quick, so I've been a computer nerd for a little while. I graduated in 1983 and had a computer. Most people didn't. That was back in the days of the TI-99 4A and the Commodore 64 and VIC-20s and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
and
my first computer was a Commodore 64. I had a black and white TV as a monitor and a cassette tape deck for memory.
Yep, there you go, cassette. That's right. That was the stuff. But anyway, so I was always playing with computers back then and learning and all that. My dad was a ham radio operator, and he wasn't a computer nerd by any means, but he had a VIC-20 actually that he used on his ham radio setup to do what they called RTTY, RTTY, radio teletype, basically. But anyway, I played with a computer and decided to go in the Air Force and was not smart enough. I took the automated data processing or electronics data processing test or something. It was basically for the Air Force to become a programmer, and I didn't do so well on it. But I did great on all the other parts, the ASVAB and everything. So I decided to enter the Air Force, and interestingly, I decided to go in as a bomb disposal, EOD, and that was the job they offered me, and I was like, I better go and take it. And anyway, the recruiter said, if you don't take it, you know how recruiters are. So in any case, I took it, went through 5.5 months, actually after basic, went through 5.5 months of training, washed out, ended up going to Denver, Colorado. Terrible, to Lowry Air Force Base for 6 months. Gosh, it was from October. I remember my first day or so I think it was October 31st. It was Halloween. Anyway, and then all the way through April, I had to go through snow, go up in the mountains and ski and all this other stuff. So anyway, enjoyed that. But I had an Apple IIe that I bought before I left Maryland when I was going through EOD training in Maryland. And I had an Apple IIe, and the squadron commander learned I had a computer. And so I actually took it down to the office while I was on AFI, is what they called it, waiting further instructions, waiting for my class. And so anyway, I played with it there. And then I went to Arkansas, ended up getting an Apple II GS somewhere along the line in Kansas, and ended up here in Texas. And so while I was in Kansas, though, I was part of a users group down there or up there. And we would all get together and learn about stuff. And I always found myself going over to someone's house and helping them out all the time. And so then when I PCS'd, for those civilians, that's Permanent Changes Station. So
it's got to have our acronyms.
That's right. So I left Wichita, Kansas, and had volunteered to become an instructor here at Shepherd Air Force Base. And when I got here, I thought, could probably make money on this deal of helping people out. So I partnered up with some internet service providers. I let the little local Apple store at the time let them all know that I could help people out getting them on the internet. And this is on the days of dial-up. And it was an hour and a half of setup just to get you on the internet. And so I found myself going out and installing the software and helping them out. I'd charge $25 and I'd spend an hour and a half or more out there helping them out. But I got started and got my name out there. So I started when I was still active duty. And I think you did much the same during your time off and weekends and stuff, right? You started your business. That's really, I thought, so I started learning all the things, and I had taken some accounting classes during college because I was able to work on my bachelor's, and eventually, while I was doing this business, I was also working on my master's degree. But I took some business classes and went through the process of just, gosh, if I'm going to do this, maybe I ought to do an accounting program. So I got QuickBooks all set up, but the truth is, I really didn't have that much income on it, but I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it as a business. And I was not just going to pretend it was a business, it was a business, and not just a hobby. Although I did joke about it. It was just, I had this business just to pay for my computer habit. But so anyway, I learned and helped and whatever, and was due to retire in 2004. So I got here in 95, due to retire in 2004. And so along that journey of learning and helping people out, I thought, gosh, maybe I'll just do this full time. And so that's what I did in April, officially retired April 1st, April Fool's Day of 2004, and went ahead and retired. Although I got to probably stop having to go to work in February or so because I had leave and all that. I never took leave, so I was always on use or lose, so I had to go ahead and use it every year anyway. Plus the extra few days and things that you get along the way. So I was happy. We go to Dallas a lot, enjoy the time here and everything. But anyway, went full time with it. And again, there was just another step in everything. But now along the way too, I got Apple authorization, believe it or not. I was able to get our service provider authorization. I had paired up with an Apple dealer down in Dallas, and was able to sell the Macs. Even like I said, this was all before I even retired. And so right along the time I was retiring, I went ahead and applied and became a fully authorized reseller, dealer, whatever you want to call it. Reseller doesn't mean selling used, by the way, but we could sell all the stuff and all really cool. Just timing, everything hit. I was in the right place, right time. And so just went from there and took it full time, and then just has been fun all along since then. So I guess that's the story, the journey from active duty and through my computer career or learning and all of that, and all the way to actually doing it and relying on it as my income. Admittedly, you and I both, we had our Air Force retirement, but it doesn't always pay the bills. And for me, it only covered about the house payment, which that's more than a lot of people. But again, we earned it after 20 plus years of active duty. So that was the deal. We got our medical care and all that kind of stuff mostly taken care of. So I'm thankful for that opportunity that I had while active duty. But anyway, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I'm really grateful for that also. And so it's really interesting to hear your story, and there's lots of people, I'm sure, that are also thinking about what they're going to do after the Air Force or whichever service that they're in.
Yeah.
What they're going to do after they finish that when they transition to the real world. And
yeah.
What is the biggest difference that you have experienced, or like the biggest challenge between being active duty in the military and being on your own as an entrepreneur?
The things and the systems are already in place. Like if you're going into your own business and starting it from scratch, you have to develop. We had Air Force instructions back when we entered. It was Air Force regulations, and you got Army and Navy and all that, and DOD and all that stuff. So there's already processes and procedures in most cases out there to do certain things. But And some of it's down to the nitty gritty. But then there you go. Sometimes it's where the rubber meets the road. There still has to be internal procedures. So having the overriding procedures in place that sort of guide how you do things and what you're supposed to do and the requirements, I guess in some ways it's completely different because you do have to develop some of that yourself for your business overall. And then, of course, the same things as your individual office or your squadron or whatever may have its own procedures to implement the higher level requirements. And so it's the same in that way that you'll get to do that, but you're pretty much required, other than government, because you got IRS and you got to do sales tax. So you learn a lot of those things. You're applying. Right. Again, those things are in place, but you have to actually go out and make things happen and find out what the requirements are and how you're going to do it. But I tell you what, all of that guidance, I think I learned a lot. Highly recommend that any entrepreneur, a veteran or otherwise, go visit the Small Business Development Center wherever you're at.
Absolutely. They're very helpful.
Guys, yeah, they have so many resources. And some of them have actually been in business, not all of them, but some of them have actually been in the business world and taking this on as maybe a second career. That's what I had, was L.O. Nelson back in the day.
Yes.
He was actually helpful, and he had been in business here in town for years, and he had an immense amount of experience. But otherwise, they have statistics, and they can look up a lot of stuff. And their services are free. Our tax money, our tax dollars pay for that, right, to help boost the local economy and everything. So anyway, yeah, I don't know if, again, that probably went off into other things that you didn't ask, but
yeah, no, that's good.
Oh, by the way, if you can't tell, I'm shy.
Are you really?
I'm shy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. With your business, I'm doing IT services, working with other businesses. What mistakes do you see small businesses make with technology?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I was growing up, if you will, in the era of a lot of do-it-yourself with the computers and everything. And the Air Force gave me the opportunity to play a lot on the new computers as they came in. So back then, we didn't have there wasn't the security issues that we have today. Security was there. We had passwords probably on a computer, or maybe, but then your computer wasn't connected to the internet 24/7 and then vulnerable to all these different things. The technology is so much more widespread and ingrained in our lives that back when, a long time ago, you could do it yourself. And now, even if you're a pretty savvy person, if you're not doing it full time, all the time, and keeping up on everything, it's hard to do your job, your primary job, unless it is IT. It's hard to do your main job plus do the IT stuff and keeping up on it. So one is trying to do it yourself. Sometimes we can get away with doing plumbing and electrical and all that, but I'll tell you, I'm afraid of plumbing, man. I've never had any major disaster, but I have had I have a rental house and water. My house I've had more water issues than anything, and it's just it's amazing. So don't do it yourself is one thing. Email these days, there's a couple of years ago, there was a crackdown on, a tightening of the security requirements to communicate with other service providers. For instance, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft. Those three those are the biggest of all the free email accounts out there. Those are probably the three biggest. And what's happened is because they're so big, they're able to clamp down, like I said, and increase the requirements for all the commercial entities. If you have your own .com or .net or whatever email account, that actual email account needs to have certain things implemented at the base level, at the server level, and so that your deliverability of your email is higher. There's no guarantee, by the way, but they don't want to see it look like spam. They want to make sure that it's coming from the right server. For those who've done security training through a company or whatever, or the Air Force or the military, they will teach you about how to look at an email and see if it's legit or not. Right. And so the servers can help all that. So there's things like that you forget about. Just setting up an email at GoDaddy, right, and setting up your account and all this. A lot of this stuff Yeah, you may do it, but they don't tell you and they don't automatically do certain aspects of that email setup.
Right.
That's a big one.
We
And
can
then
spend a
just
lot of time doing all of our marketing and setting up and trying to do everything right, and then it ends up not ending up in their inbox, and so they never see it.
inbox. Exactly. So so it's called DKIN, DMARC, and SPF are the primary little drivers of that. And you need to get those set up properly and monitor it. There's, like I said, it's a process. It's not just set it and forget it either. It's once you get it, you still got to monitor and keep an eye on it. So if you want your emails to be delivered, even on a day-to-day basis, I've got customers that call and they go, my email's not being delivered, or it's going to junk at my customers and all this. It was working fine yesterday. And so we got to dig in and find out. And sometimes your server, the mail server, is getting marked as spam and as a spam point. And so you go in and tweak some things, and over time that gets better. So it's, gosh, I don't know what else. That's just a handful of them. But really the bottom line is find you a trusted IT person or a company or whatever. Find somebody you like and you trust, obviously. And then, but ask them questions, hold them accountable, ask them about those kinds of things. If you learned and you're reading about email and hey, do you do this? And can you show me a little bit about it or whatever? So hold them accountable.
Yeah, that's great. That's great information. Yeah, it's even possible, I heard, that if your like promotional emails get flagged, it can actually affect the delivery of your just one-off direct emails.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They work together because if your spam, you're looked at as a spam point.
Right.
And so your reputation of your email account, your domain name is affected. And so also if you use a marketing company or like you do this, and you need to make sure that that they go back and in your what's called DNS, make sure you bless I use that term, bless the mail server they're using, and you do that through SPF. Again, just telling you how to do that. But yeah, absolutely.
More acronyms. They don't just stay with the Air Force. Acronyms follow you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just now I will say I used more acronyms in the military, but there's definitely plenty to go around in the civilian world. So
you touched on cybersecurity briefly. What do business owners need to know, and how do you future-proof your business concerning the cybersecurity?
One, email, believe it or not, that's part of cybersecurity. Okay, is you're getting that part of it done. Now, there's no one size fits all. There's no absolute, this one tool will fix everything. You may have requirements on being in the real estate world, and I know Gabi, your wife, is into finance, and so they have much more stringent requirements. So it really depends on your business, but overall, I would say training is good. You need to get cybersecurity training for you and your employees. Make sure they're aware, security awareness training and all that. And then yes, antivirus, or it's actually a little more advanced than what we used to think of as antivirus. And that's really not, it's cybersecurity. It's just overall, because antivirus really just finds a specific thing. This software has a signature that they've assigned to it that once they've learned about it. But they oftentimes now with AI and everything, they're changing, it's morphing into different things. And so we look for behavior now. So you need security software that looks and analyzes what behavior, if you will, of the software of malware. Okay. So but again, I think it's all going to go because I didn't know all this stuff, and I'm continuously learning. It's the threats, they're coming out every single day. And you may have a tool that's compromised. We've seen it in the news quite regularly that they shut down CrowdStrike. Legitimate piece of software. This is actually as a self-induced thing, by the way, but it still can affect us. And that was a friendly, if you will. And so just basically, again, getting an IT person who you can trust and all that, and be thoughtful and aware. A lot of the stuff that we did in the military, you don't give away everything. You don't have pieces of paper sitting out with your passwords on it. Simple stuff.
Right.
Store it. Ideally, yes, your phone is secure, but there's also your notes app. don't store your stuff in your Notes app unless you make it a secure note. That's possible. But Apple and the iPhone, and I'm sure there's equivalent on the Android side, there's an actually password app built in. Now, I'm a 1Password user, so if you want a really more advanced, capable thing, or you want to share passwords in your company, because sometimes there's certain passwords that Office Depot or whatever,
Right.
not to give them a plug. But anyway, so really just get with your IT person that you, not your brother who happens to do it part-time. Okay. Find somebody who's doing it on a day-to-day basis.
That's good advice. Yeah. You mentioned that you are an Apple authorized service provider. What does that mean to me that doesn't know? And how's that different from, say, the Apple store in, say, Dallas or something like that?
Okay. We're as an Apple authorized reseller and service provider, together, we're a lot like the Apple store in terms of capability. We're able to sell the products and service the products. So that's why I like to say we're like an Apple store, just not owned by Apple. But we're not going to look like Apple because we have a unique, in fact, they tell us you cannot make your store look like an Apple store. They literally, that is a no-no. You'll buy the same wood tables they use and all that stuff. But so we're able to fix everything with an Apple logo on it. So if it's a watch, an Apple TV, now a lot of stuff is a whole unit swap, right? We just facilitate the repair, if you will. But oftentimes it's we take everything apart. iPhones are more modular in terms of us repairing stuff. There's cameras, there's speakers, there's batteries, there's screens, there's the vibrator motor, what's called the haptic engine. Every major component we can pretty much replace in there. And then on Macs, of course, same thing. We can replace what they call a logic board, a main logic board, motherboard, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
The displays, the speakers, same kinds of things. So we're fully authorized. We've got all the training, the tools, everything that an Apple store does. But the Apple Store genius doesn't have the experience that we bring to the table. They're smart and they're really good at the very specific thing to do, but we're the ones that go out on site. They don't go on site. We deal with the customer every customer, both on the sales and the service side. So it's in the retail side of things. But yeah, so we can do it under warranty, out of warranty, under Apple Care, not under Apple Care, which would be out of warranty. It could be in warranty, but because it's damaged, to be out of Apple Care.
All right. That's great. Yeah. Why should businesses and people look for a local IT service provider?
We're right here and we can go see you face to face. There's number one, and we can understand your business. I think that gives you an advantage being there. And sometimes I guess there are places that may not have somebody local, but that's okay too, because we do have remote tools. Now admittedly, not all our customers are here in Wichita Falls. In fact, that customer, just before we started recording, Tim was gracious enough to give me a little leeway here. I had a customer who called literally as I'm driving up, or texted, said that they were down having an issue, but they're in Brownwood, Texas. That's one location for this company. They've got down all Dallas-Fort Worth. They got Waxahachie, Brownwood, Cleburne. I'm not going to miss them all, but they're spread around. Now, I know them and I deal with them on a daily basis, but they do have an office here. Their main office is here in Wichita Falls. So we manage their entire company. Concrete company up in Sherman, Bonham area. We take care of them remotely. But these are relationships that I developed locally. But that, again, I think there's a balance there. Don't just take the guy local just because he's there necessarily. But maybe he's the boots on the ground deal where we could work with them and somebody locally, but also because we do that too as well.
Yeah, that's great. What other services do you provide for businesses, like managed IT services type things?
Okay. We also help you find an internet service. We do phone service. We do part of the managed IT part of it is, for a lot of companies, they have a lot of these and a lot of iPads. And for those who know, you have your own personal Apple ID, or now it's called the Apple account. Still trying to get that out of my vocabulary. Apple account that you set up to log in, and you get to iCloud and all that stuff. When you get more than about 5 of these, even 5 starts to get a little crazy, and you're logging in and you're trying to share an Apple ID or Apple account, and that gets a little overwhelming. And so Apple has a way to allow us as an IT management company to help you organize and manage these devices. And in that way that if you order a phone for your business, it could get automatically loaded into our system that we manage, what's called mobile device management. And then when the end user turns the phone on and joins Wi-Fi, it just sets everything up and has apps put on there and everything for your business, and then can restrict them from doing things that could get them in trouble or could get your business in trouble. There's ways of managing a device to keep it locked down as strictly as you need to. You can say, I don't want them surfing this and surfing that, and so you can limit them just to an app. So that's one of the things. That's cool, though. I think that's one of the neatest things that we do. Let's see, what else? I guess just overall, we help with our customers' vendors. We vendor management, if you will, because everybody's called your internet service provider, trying to deal with billing or try to deal with something, try to get it all done. You just add us, our customers will add us as a contact to be able to communicate on behalf of the customer. And we can make changes or whatever. They delegate that to us. And obviously hey, would you mind making sure we can get faster internet? So we'll go call and manage that process. So
that's pretty cool. That's probably some things that some business owners didn't even think about they might need.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cause that takes time, and we do it all the time. That's one of the things I actually enjoy doing as a challenge is dealing with customer service. I feel like I'm really good at dealing with those. I have a high success rate, and I'm just blowing my own horn here, but I have a high success rate of working through issues when you run into roadblocks. Oh, no, we don't do it that way, or we can't do that. Oh, really? That makes sense when it's just logical. And also sometimes I pull favors. I say, hey, look, from a customer service standpoint, do you think that's logical? Does that make sense? Is that very customer friendly for you to do what you're doing? That kind of stuff. So I will pull out, and most of the time I get a sympathetic ear, and I say, hey, I know you may not have the authority to make this decision, but get me to somebody who could. I'm sure you're doing a great job. You're doing everything you can and what you've been told, and I understand you may be limited. So could you get me to somebody that can take care of this? And so I've just developed that skill, I guess, in working through problems. I enjoy it I enjoy it on one hand, but it's of course a waste of time because you have to even do it. But I feel pretty good at doing that stuff. I know a lot of people I don't want to even talk to anybody, but they'll just rather pay that extra amount for however long and not.
Yeah.
And I'll ask for a refund, and I'll do all kinds of stuff and make them money. So yes, you may be paying me depending on contract we have with the customer. You may be paying me, our rate, but I've just saved you $1,000 by taking an hour to resolve a problem.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
you
a
can
great
go do stuff and make more money.
That's a great skill set. I definitely do not have that skill set of talking to customer service and enjoying that process.
Hire me, I can do it. Anyway. All right, what else? What else we got here, man? I'm having fun.
What skill sets that you learned from the military do you think translate best to being an entrepreneur?
I think that you can't just quit, right? Military. You just can't walk in one day and say, you know what? I'm done with this, and leave. No, you can't do that. Not that I'm sure that we may have all been frustrated with a particular situation or something, but and I've never been that way necessarily to just give up on anything. I'm pretty tenacious when it comes to solving a problem, but it may, for some people, give them the discipline that habit, if you will, of trying to work things out when you can't, and plus you can't fire people. Even if you're the boss of an office, you can't fire anybody. You can give them letters of counseling and letters of reprimand and all that. For me anyway. Now you being an officer, you may have higher level kinds of things, especially if you're a commander in a command situation, but basically you can't fire anybody, and it takes a while before you're gone. Yeah, you can be fired, but you may quit in a way, but again, it's not like, it's only if they offer an early out or something like that. So I think that just gives you that option's off the table. It's kind of like people in relationships, just divorce or whatever off the table, and then you seem to find a better way in the long run. And so I think that's one thing. It just gives you that skill set, to that practice, if you will, to try to resolve the issues. And then I think just that day-to-day learning that alone, and trying to learn and try to boost people up versus tearing them down. It's encouraging and that kind of thing. You learn a system, like I was talking about learning as how to work through these telephone customer service situations. It gives you an overall understanding of a bigger picture thing all the way down, and how the bigger picture affects you down at the macro, or the macro, how it affects the micro level,
Right.
that kind of stuff. Just, I think if you take the opportunity, all of this makes a huge difference. If you just are going to float along and just go with it, you're not driving your life and deciding what you're doing, then you're not going to get anything out of it. It's all going to be internal. So if you're listening to this podcast, or after you have an interest in doing your own business, I think you've started already, right? But it's more than just getting and doing your technical piece. The technical part of your job. If you're an IT guy in the military, doesn't make you a great business owner of an IT company.
Right.
There's it is a difference. There's one difference, is that the IT department, or in this case, comm squadron, I think is pretty much who handles it. Or actually now, I guess there's help desk at a much higher level now from when I was active duty. But it's business like, but those people only have that place to go, and you don't. Your job as a IT expert in the military, and I know the Air Force at times has not gone back and forth, but has put a lot of emphasis on customer service over the years. And I think you absolutely should look at everybody as a customer, whether it's internally or externally, and how you can be because when you're the boss in a military, or even here, what can I do to help my people? What tools do they need? And that kind of stuff, and to do their job better. So please look at this as a customer service thing. If you're going to go into your own business, learn customer service, understand, listen, all of that about your customers. Now, the customer's not always right, by the way. I back my people. I will back my guys here are more important. They are the first one that I'm going to take care of, because if I take care of them and they understand that they need to take care of the customer, then that's it. So I will. Now, if they're wrong, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk to the customer, and we're going to work it out. But I still think taking care of my guys, and I haven't had my wife, but I haven't had any women working for me. Oh, actually I do. I have my bookkeeper. She's really awesome. But
yeah.
Anyway, so I take care of them so they can do their job.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Yeah. So Terry, thanks again for being here. It was great having you on. So how would listeners contact you for more information?
Of course, you can get on our website, MacTech-Solutions.com. That's MacTech, MacTech -solutions with an S.com, or just Google MacTech Solutions. Find us there. Of course, we're on Facebook. Follow us there. Call us 940-767-6227. And by the way, that's 940-767-MAX, M-A-C-S. So.
That's good. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up for all the listeners out there?
No, I just go in. If you want to get into your own business, definitely explore it. And sometimes you may have to go and do it part-time for a little bit. That's what you and I did, is we figured, hey, this is probably what we want to do when we get out. And if the military or your other job offers the opportunity to do it part-time, then great, take advantage of it and get your feet wet there. That way you're not jumping out cold turkey. So absolutely take the time, learn, go hang out, take a day of leave or 2 days of leave or whatever, and go, or a week, and go and work in a business. Go ask for someone to let you, and establish that relationship, and the networking, and get involved, all of that stuff in the local community if you can, where you're going to stay. But even then, if you're not, say, hey, I would like to do X, and find you a local business that's doing what you want to do, and go hang out. Like I said, literally just intern, or just do it for free. Just go hang out. So I think that's one thing, if you really have a love for what you wanting to get out and do your own business and learn something.
All right, that's great advice. And to everyone listening, hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Hopefully you picked up a few takeaways that you can use right here in Wichita Falls or wherever you are in North Texas. I appreciate you spending a little time with us today, and we'll see you next time on the Falls Homefront. That wraps up another episode of the Falls Homefront. I trust today's conversation gave you some useful insight for your real estate journey and life here in North Texas. If you enjoyed it, follow the show so you never miss an episode. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and share it with a friend, neighbor, or fellow North Texan who might enjoy it too. For more resources, local insights, real estate tips, and how to connect with me, head over to timlockharthomes.com. Stay tuned for more stories, strategies, and connections that help you thrive in Wichita Falls and beyond.